Hello, everybody. This is my expository speech. The topic I have is the psychedelic therapy. Um, I'm gonna start off with a little story. So I was at the park, and there was this woman. This wasn't the first time I seen her, and every time I see her, I think she's I think she's my relative, and I'm like, oh. And one day I asked her, "Hey, are we related?" And she was like, and she didn't say anything. She started to quiver, and she is always holding a beer for some reason. So I think she's an alcoholic, and I struggle with some. I struggle with alcoholism myself, and she was with somebody, and that person said, "No, I don't think you guys are related." And she's kind of always like that. She's kind of she has a lot of anxiety, so that made me think, oh, maybe she can get some treatment, whether it's therapy or get into psychedelic therapy, which is an option nowadays. Um, So, according to Healthline.com, scientists produce a lot of evidence that supports and verifies towards the therapeutic potential of psychedelic therapy to treat not just anxiety but also addiction and other mental health conditions. And a little stat I want you guys to know is according to the according to the National Alliance of Mental Illness, 1 in 5 people who have experienced mental illness. There is 1 in 5 people who experience mental illness, so that means in Stockton there's about over 6K. So today we're gonna learn about psychedelic therapy, and we'll be discussing what psychedelic therapy is, um, how it works, and the implications. So uh, let me discuss a little bit about what therapy does. According to Psychology Today, therapy can be called psychotherapy. It can be called talk therapy. The site defines therapy as problems. Um, as it defines therapy as a form of treatment aimed at relieving emotional distress and mental health problems. Rather, so these type of treatments can be provided by a variety of trained professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors, etc. Um, And here's some stats. According to my Denver therapy site, last accessed April 4th, uh, about 30% of American adults have seen therapists in 2021, and about 42 million people receive some type of treatment for the mental health. Every year, 20% of working adults experience a mental health issue. Uh, Around 25% of women have received some help for the mental health against the 15% for men. And uh, so let's discuss a specific type of therapy now, and arguably a very controversial one. It's what the topic of this speech is about. It's psychedelic therapy. Now, according to the National Library of Medicine, published 2015, the title refers to psychedelic medicine as a re-emerging therapeutic paradigm, and it continues to state that renewed investigations are taking place on the use of psychedelic substances for treating mental health issues. Um, Now, it's called the re-emerging because this happened in the 60s and 50s, but um, they stopped all the studying in the 70s, I believe. So, uh, you know, psychedelics include drugs like LSD, psilocybin, ayahuasca, mescaline, MDMA. So now that we discussed a little bit about psychedelic therapy, let's discuss how it works. Now, on the internet, there's an article. It's called "The Therapy Part of Psychedelic Therapy is a Mess." So it describes psychedelic therapy as pretty much you hang out on a sofa, you being uh, you're being watched by two therapists or counselors or a mental health specialist, and you swallow a dose of a psychedelic, and they watch you for the next couple hours. And uh, the problem with that is uh, the therapy component of psychedelic assisted therapy isn't being studied enough. So there's a risk, they're not even sure if them being there is really that if it really helps them that much. So but what do psychedelics? How does it affect the brain? According to Technology Networks, a study shows psychedelic drugs rewire the brain. The study was on LSD and psilocybin. Revealed details about how these ingredients bind to receptors in the brain and how they exert their antidepressant effects by binding to the receptors um, for the molecule brain derived a neurotrophic factor, which is abbreviated BN. No, it's abbreviated BDNF. It's an important agent of a neuroplasticity, and a neuroplasticity is defined as a process by which the brain's connections reshape and form new connections. So when you do that, it affects your brain's neuroplasticity, and hence you rewire your brain. So now how? So we discussed how it works. Now let's discuss the implications. As we mentioned, it's the re-emerging theoretic paradigm, and according to the same article published by the National Library of Medicine, most psychedelic drugs are classified and legally scheduled as having no or very limited medical purpose. And they're scheduled one drugs, most of them are, if not all, um, and that includes the um, and I think that's the biggest implication actually. And according to the same article, a risk associated with psychedelic drugs is HPPD, which is hallucinogen persisting perception disorder, sometimes known as flashbacks. Um, it doesn't always happen, and and other effects. These effects include increasing anxiety, heart rate, and blood pressure, and without careful supervision, fearful responses could lead to dangerous behavior. That's according to the website from the National Library of Medicine. So today we learned about psychedelic therapy. We talked about psychedelic therapy. We learned what it was, how it works, its application. Remember, 1 in 5 people in America have a mental illness. I haven't come across a woman in that story, and I hope she found some sort of treatment. So thank you.